Hello everyone. I wish you all a good evening enjoying a good ghost story with the gentle sound of rain from BLACKRIDGE Stories and a peaceful and good night's sleep. Highway 13, a name that alone sent shivers down the spines of the residents of Hollow Creek. It was a seemingly endless highway cutting through the densest forests of the American South, where ancient, twisted trees reached out like gnarled hands, poised to snatch anyone who dared pass through. Rumor had it that the forest along the highway was not merely a part of nature. It was alive, it listened, and sometimes it whispered, opening the fateful journey. Jason, Mia, Brandon, and Elise, 4 college friends, decided to take a camping trip before life pulled them into its whirlwind of responsibilities. Their destination was a campsite about 3 hours' drive from Hollow Creek, a route that required passing through part of Highway 13. Jason's silver SUV rolled steadily under a fiery sunset, devouring mile after mile of cracked asphalt. Music from the radio blended with the sound of tires grinding over the broken road. "It's so empty here," Elise muttered, peering out the window at the trees stretching their shadowy arms. "That's the fun of it, no crowds." Brandon laughed, though his grin faded quickly as they passed the battered sign. "Highway 13. Proceed at your own risk." The strange beginning, first signs. Night fell fast. The moonless sky drowned the world in a heavy, impenetrable darkness. Suddenly, the radio began to crackle and hiss, broadcasting strange static and what sounded like faint whispers. Jason fiddled with the dial, but it was useless. "Maybe a storm's coming," Mia whispered as an uneasy tension settled inside the vehicle. Then, illuminated by the headlights, they saw it, a figure standing motionless in the middle of the road. Jason slammed the brakes. The SUV screeched, tires skidding across the slick pavement. Under the bright beams of the headlights, all 4 stared, breathless. There was no one there. What the hell was that? Elise gasped, her face pale. Into the woods, a fatal mistake. After calming down, Jason realized the SUV had gotten stuck in the muddy shoulder. They had no choice but to get out and look for help. Under the dim glow of their flashlights, they spotted a narrow trail leading deeper into the forest, where faint, flickering yellow light beckoned. "Maybe it's a house," Brandon guessed. Ignoring the screams of their instincts, they decided to head into the woods, hoping to find someone who could help. The deeper they went, the thicker the forest grew. The air was icy. The smell of damp brought clinging to their skin. And then they began to hear the whispers. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't animals. It was voices, or something like voices. Rising tension, a strange object in the forest. The flashlight beams darted across rotting tree trunks. And suddenly, they landed on an abandoned cabin hidden among the trees. The front door hung ajar. A misty white smoke drifted lazily out from within. Without thinking, Jason approached and pushed the door open. Inside, the cabin was shrouded in darkness. Only a rotting wooden chair and a cracked mirror suspended in the center of the room greeted them. When Elise aimed the flashlight at the mirror, they all froze. Their reflections stared back at them, but their mirrored selves had grotesquely distorted faces, grinning hideously. Ending part 1. No way back. Gripped by terror, they fled the cabin. But when they stumbled back into the woods, the road they came from was gone. In its place stood a dense, alien forest, darker and thicker than before. The whispers grew louder, surrounding them, as if the entire forest was laughing at them. Jason turned around. The cabin had vanished too. There was nothing left but darkness. The nightmare begins. Darkness swallowed the group whole. Jason, Mia, Brandon, and Elise huddled together, their flashlights trembling in their hands. No one spoke a word. No one dared to breathe too loudly. The old road leading back to the highway had vanished as if it had never existed. In the heart of the dense forest, the 4 of them became lost souls, and it felt as if the forest itself knew it. Group meeting, a dangerous decision. "We have to find another way out," Jason said, trying to stay calm. Mia clutched Elise's hand tightly and nodded. Brandon looked around, unable to hide the worry in his eyes. The group decided to follow a faint trail, barely wide enough for one person to walk. Branches scratched at their clothes, and the thick scent of damp earth and rotting leaves filled the air. Their footsteps echoed against the suffocating silence. The first phenomenon, the stopped clock. After nearly an hour of fumbling through the woods, Jason glanced at his watch. The hands had stopped moving. The second hand was frozen at exactly 12:07, the moment they had entered the forest. "Something's not right," Jason muttered. Elise shivered. "Where are we?" Brandon gasped, spotting a faint, flickering light in the distance, like a torch sputtering in the dark. "Follow me," Brandon shouted, sprinting ahead. The first disappearance. The others rushed after him, but within minutes, Brandon's light vanished. "Brandon," Jason called out. There was no reply, only the howling of the wind through the trees, and a sound like claws scraping against rotten wood. They searched frantically, their voices growing hoarse, but Brandon was gone without a trace. No screams, no signs of struggle, just a chilling emptiness. Mia broke down in tears, her shoulders shaking uncontrollably. A horrifying discovery. Suddenly, Elise screamed, her flashlight sweeping across a massive tree. On the rotten trunk were deep gashes, shaped eerily like human handprints, but the fingers were grotesquely long, unnaturally so. Jason stepped closer, reaching out to touch the marks. The instant his hand made contact, an icy chill sliced through him like a blade. He yanked his hand back, but the freezing sensation lingered, clinging to his bones, seeping into his very core. Sounds not of this world. The whispers grew louder. At first, they were incoherent murmurs, but slowly, they took form, shaping into broken phrases. "You can't leave. Blood must have blood. One is not enough." Jason screamed, "We don't want to stay." The only answer was a raspy, guttural laughter that echoed from all around them. "Mia is taken." Suddenly, Mia shrieked in terror. An invisible force yanked her through the underbrush, so swiftly that Jason and Elise could only catch a glimpse of her vanishing into the darkness. Jason bolted after her, shouting MIA. No answer, only his own ragged breathing and the frantic pounding of his heart. He turned back to Elise, who was trembling like a leaf in a storm. Ending Part 2, Isolation. Now only Jason and Elise remained, left alone in the cursed forest. They didn't know whether Brandon and Mia were alive, or had already been claimed by the shadows. Ahead of them, the forest seemed to part, revealing a new path, a dim, foreboding trail leading into even deeper darkness. Jason gripped Elise's hand tightly and whispered, "We have to keep moving. There's no way back." Above them, black clouds churned. A bolt of lightning ripped across the sky, illuminating their terror-stricken faces. Their footsteps echoed once again, merging with the endless, haunting whispers of the forest. The curse of the forest. Jason and Elise trudged down the cold path, where the darkness seemed to live and cling to every inch of their skin. Each step was a battle against the fear gnawing at their minds. The abandoned house. Through the thick fog, they saw an old wooden house rise like a ghost in the forest. The wooden door creaked slightly in the wind. A tilted sign in front barely showed some faded words. "Welcome. Highway 13-inch." Jason swallowed hard and pushed the door open. Inside, traces of despair. Inside, the dust lay thick in layers. The furniture was decayed, the walls peeling, and old dried blood splatters marked the floor. A rotting journal lay on a broken table. Jason flipped open the first page. July 13th. "We can't leave. The voices. They have taken them." Blood is the only escape. Elise stepped back, tears streaming down her face. She felt a coldness slowly creeping up her spine. From the darkness, a figure swept past them. "Jason," she screamed. Jason spun around. No one was there. Only their own shadows flickering on the wall. The awakening memory. Suddenly, Jason felt a sharp pain stab through his temple. Strange images flooded his mind. A truck speeding down Highway 13. A man standing in the middle of the road, his empty stare. The screeching of brakes, the piercing screams ripping through the night. Jason collapsed, clutching his head. Elise rushed to support him, her voice frantic. "Jason, what's happening?" He gasped, stammering. We've been here before, but we can't remember. The secret revealed. Elise's eyes widened. Fragments of her own memories started flooding back. A torrential rainstorm, a horrific accident, a man dead beneath their wheels. They ran away. They never stopped, never called for help. The punishment. We've been pulled back, Jason whispered, his eyes vacant. This forest, it doesn't forgive. Elise cried out, her sobs trembling. What do we do? We have to get out. Jason shook his head, his hand trembling as he pointed to the journal. Blood is the only escape. To pay the blood debt, they had to choose. Either one of them would sacrifice themselves, or they would both remain trapped forever in this forest. The call of darkness. The wooden house began to shake. The windows rattled violently. Voices echoed from all directions, urging, "Choose, choose, choose." Jason and Elise looked at each other, their faces full of despair. Who would survive? Who would die? Or would they both be consumed by the forest forever? The sacrifice. The wooden house shuddered under the unseen screams. Jason and Elise stood facing each other, torn between fear and love. There was no escape, no time left. Desperate struggle. "I'll do it," Jason said, his voice trembling. "I'll stay." Elise shook her head violently, tears streaming down her face. "No, I should be the one to take responsibility." The air was thick with the iron smell of blood and sweat. Everything around them began to crack, as if the world itself was collapsing. The final call. From the ceiling, a long shadow dropped down, stretching its filthy fingers toward them. It whispered in a high-pitched voice, "One of you, the blood of the guilty, or both will vanish forever." Jason gripped Elise's hand tightly. "You have a family. You have dreams. I only have you." Elise cried out, clinging to Jason. The blood oath. Jason pulled a shard of glass from the floor. Without hesitation, he slashed a deep line across his palm. Blood dripped onto the floor, seeping into the old cracks. The floor began to glow ominously, ancient carvings emerging as though they had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Elise screamed and rushed to stop him, but Jason had collapsed, a peaceful smile on his face. The door opens. The house trembled violently. A shaft of light flickered from the front door, leading out into the forest. Elise was thrust out of the house, falling to the damp earth. She looked up. The house, along with Jason and the darkness, vanished into nothingness. All that was left was the sound of the wind whispering in the deep forest. The return. Elise limped out to Highway 13. The headlights of a car illuminated her from afar. A driver stopped, panicked. "My God, where did you come from?" Elise didn't answer. She turned to look back at the forest. Only endless darkness remained. But deep in her soul, Jason was still there, as an eternal reminder of sin and redemption. The ghost follows. Elise thought she was free. She believed that Jason's sacrifice had broken the curse. But she was wrong. It didn't take long for Elise to realize something had followed her out of the forest. The first signs. The first night back home, Elise heard tapping on her window at 3 a.m. She turned on the light. No one was there. Only small mud stains on the glass, like handprints. The next day, Jason's face briefly appeared on the TV screen. When it turned off, his voice echoed in her dreams. "Don't forget me. Don't leave me." Darkness creeps in. Gradually, Elise couldn't tell what was a dream and what was real anymore. She saw Jason standing on the balcony during rainy nights. She heard her name called when crossing busy streets. Every time she looked in the mirror, she saw a shadow behind her. Friends and family said she had changed, quiet, fearful, as if carrying a ghost inside her. The curse isn't over. One night, Elise woke up to find her hands covered in mud. The floor was marked with wet footprints. She followed the prints, leading to the front door. And outside, in the mist, Jason was standing there. He smiled, a twisted, cold smile. "I promised," Jason whispered. "We will never be apart." The futile escape. Elise panicked. She packed her things, fled the city, and drove south, through the empty fields. But no matter where she went, Jason was there. In the rearview mirror, under the trees by the roadside, in every fitful dream. There was nowhere far enough to escape. Back to where it all began. Desperate, Elise decided. She had to return to Highway 13, where it all began. Only there could she find a way to break free from the shadow that haunted her. Elise's car sped along the empty highway. When the clock struck 1:13 a.m., she saw the broken sign. Highway 13, mile marker 0. The darkness ahead seemed to open into a gate with no way out. The bloodstained ending. Elise stopped the car by the side of the road, right at the mile marker 0 of Highway 13. The night was pitch black, only the faint sounds of insects and the eerie wind rustling through the dark pine trees. She stepped out of the car, her hands trembling, tightly clutching the necklace Jason had once given her. She knew this journey would have no way back. The gate between two worlds. Right at the mile marker 0, Elise saw a faint crack in the air, like a fragile gate. Whispers echoed from within. "Elise, come in. We are waiting for you." Not just Jason, but other voices too, mixed, distant, calling her. The final bargain. A massive dark shadow emerged from the crack. The gatekeeper, the one who guards the boundary between life and death. It spoke. Want freedom? Trade it for your soul. Or find someone to take your place. Elise gasped. Once again, she had to choose. Sacrifice herself, or offer someone else as a substitute. Her heart ached. She remembered Jason, the warmth of his embrace. But she also understood. To end this bloody cycle, she had to break it from within. The choice. Elise took out the wooden pendant from the old house, the one she had kept in her jacket pocket. She took a deep breath and drove the piece of wood deep into her chest. She fell to the ground, a peaceful smile on her face. At that moment, the crack in the air exploded. A bright red light surged, accompanied by the maddened screams of trapped souls. The liberation. The forest sank into silence. Highway 13 became ordinary. No more whispers, no more shadows. Only Elise, lying still in the middle of the road, her eyes closed, her face serene. The final sign. Weeks later, a small plaque was erected at mile marker 0. Elise Morgan, the one who stopped the darkness. But on misty rainy nights, when a lone car drives by, if you look closely at the trees, you might see a shadowy figure standing by the marker, smiling. Jason and Elise, finally reunited, in another world.